wanted to start with you first. This is a beloved story that's lived in different mediums. And what you've done so brilliantly is you've found that balance between familiarity while creating something that's new and refreshing. And one of the ways which it feels very cinematic is the use of those dream sequences. Was that balance something that you were mindful of as you were co-penning this script? And how early on did you realize you wanted to lean on those dreams to make it more cinematic?
That came when I first saw the script. I knew that was the approach that I wanted to take with it. I thought it would let us into their inner lives in a way that would be really important for it to work as a film. And it was the biggest challenge by far, I think, with the film was to find that balance where it was always moving the story forward in terms of their inner life and subconscious, I guess you'd say. So yeah, that was always at the forefront of my mind, and then trying to figure out how to make those transitions as a filmmaker are not easy. And it was because we were an independent film, so we shot
Mhm.
everything in camera. I mean, everything, like the deer was in camera, the everything that looked like maybe it would be CG or something wasn't. So, and that's a tribute to Ben Smithard, who was our cinematographer, who was just amazing, and the actors who put up with us. So
Apart from the boat, I think the boat,
oh, the boat was, yeah, that was our,
that's it.
that was not, that was not real.
Sorry, Brownie.
No, thank you.
It's a fantastic film. And, Matthew, there's so much vulnerability that you need to tap into when you're playing CS Lewis, especially with regards to his grief and PTSD. And you brought so much nuance to that. I know you did extensive amount of research for this role. As an actor, how did you create the space for yourself to dive into those elements with so much subtlety? And how did you find that balance between preparation and living in the moment and reacting off what Anthony is giving you?
Right, well, I mean, I love the research. I think that's really, I mean, it actually makes you feel a bit lazy when you have a normal role with which, we should be trying to fill that with as much stuff as we're learning when I do the research on Lewis. But so there was a lot of his life that was quite tragic, really was. But he was still this incredible human being, and I think probably got a lot of that strength in his life from his faith. Um, but then what you have to do is once you learn about his mother dying and a bad childhood and schooling and all that sort of stuff, you've got to throw all of this stuff away. You've got to throw all the stuff you've got away and just be present. I think that was the one thing, especially as he's getting ranted at quite a lot by Freud. Um, and there's a great debate, obviously, but there's a lot coming his way. There's like it's going to sound really stupid, but I need you to see his humanity whilst doing nothing, or whilst listening. This is kind of crazy, but the having to talk engage whilst only listening is it's an interesting exercise.
And it's not
Not easy.
not easy. What
Yeah.
you did was not easy. That is hard. That is a really, really hard thing to do, and not all actors can do it the way Matthew did it. Let's just put it that way. It was
Yeah.
impressive.
It's so
Thanks.
gripping to watch on screen.
Yeah, makes it
Matt.
dynamic. I mean, it would have been not if without that.
Mm.
So.
Matt, time is never a luxury when you're working on a film, and you were shooting 7 pages a day with two actors who are at the top of their game. As a co-writer and director, how did you create this space and trust on set where they felt comfortable to play and bring their interpretations of these characters to life on screen while covering so much material?
It was I think it was just creating the space, as you said, and getting the crew on board early on to understand what was happening. And the thing is, when you have actors like Matthew and Tony, everybody brings their A game, and they were very, very, very respectful, and they gave us the space, and that was great. And it's not having like five producers sitting around the monitor. It's having nobody, and it's having,
Mm.
we really just tried to say, everyone steer clear. I mean, I'm sure COVID protocols probably helped a little bit with that as well. Funny enough, but yeah, and just the willingness of the actors to take chances and try things, because we did try things, and it was exciting, a little scary, but exciting.
Perfect segue to the next question. Matthew, throughout the film, we see this intellectual debate between the two of the greatest minds in history. And there's a lot of unexpected humor there as well. How much of that was on the page versus discovered on the day? And how's working opposite Anthony challenged you as a storyteller?
Well, Anthony's my childhood hero, and I was a little scared going into this because obviously he played CS Lewis before in Shadow.
Yeah.
And so, but I was, he totally disarmed me, and we had a little time. I'd done a huge amount of preparation, so I knew all the lines put of the script before I started. I didn't know how we were going to shoot it. We shot it narratively. It was a joy. And yeah, but Tony has a tendency, I don't, to bring that kind of levity to some of these real people that he's played. And I would say that some of it isn't on the page, but he manages to find a way to he knows what's necessary. He's a really great sort of emotional gauge of where his performance is at, and also what possibly he might need to draw out of me. But it was, yeah, I'll never. It was a little bit of an acting masterclass. But I tried not to fan out too much. Yeah.
I mean, tying his
Yeah.
apron, I'll never forget that. That was just great.
Yes.
He's trying to tie his apron.
That turned out to be quite a good idea in the end, I think.
Great.
Matt, what else you've done so brilliantly with the screenplays? You've been able to present both sides of the argument between religion versus science without ever letting your own opinions or biases in, which really encourages and challenges audiences to have those discussions themselves. Was that something that you were mindful of as you were co-penning the script? Why was that so important to you?
I mean, it's important to me to keep my voice out of it. I mean, that was incredibly important to me because I don't want to feel like this is biased. I feel like everything now, I mean, it has, like I've said, the loudest voices in the room, but they all have agendas. Everyone's got an agenda, and I have an agenda with this other than to have a discussion. That was it. And I needed to stay out of that in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
So that was always at the forefront, and I never wanted to lean too hard this way or too hard that way. I mean, it is Freud's last session, and it is Hopkins. So he does do a fair amount of the talking, but when you have an actor, as I said, as good a listener and as amazing as Matthew is, you can feel his force constantly in this. So I do think it's
Yeah.
pretty even, and we spend a lot of time in the edit making sure that both sides are presented. So